Hi, George here. And I thought since Photoshop Elements 2024 now has a new way to change the look of the interface, it's a good time to go back and take a look at different ways that you can customize your interface, customize your workspace here inside of Photoshop Elements. Most of these work with most versions of Photoshop Elements, except for this light and dark thing here that's new to version 2024. Let's look at that one first, and that's up here under Edit. Come down to Preferences and the General tab right here. A lot of these things will be in the Preferences. And the first one is the UI mode here. Again, this is just in 2024. Right now I'm in the light mode. As you can see right back in there. Looks good. There's also a dark mode. Let me show you that real fast. Go to the dark mode, choose OK. OK again. Now you need to close down Photoshop Elements and open it back up again. So I'll do that real fast here, just in the blink of an eye. And there we are. We're now in the dark mode. Pretty easy to do. Let's go back to the light mode again. Edit, come down to Preferences and General. Same thing, just change the mode right here. Choose OK, close down and reopen Photoshop Elements. Okay, that's the only one of these tricks that's specific to 2024. The rest of these work with other versions as well. And the first one is this space in behind here, this workspace in behind your pictures. And if you right-click out here or right-click over here this side, you can change the coloration back here from default, just kind of medium gray, to black, or a dark gray, medium gray, here's a light gray, or we can even go for a custom color if you want to. It just changes that background area, and the only reason to do this really is to make it easier to see what you're working on in here. So my recommendation, a couple of recommendations. First, always stick with the grays. That gives you your least chance for influencing the colors you're seeing in here. For instance, the blues out here will influence the yellows you're seeing. The yellows here will appear a little bit more saturated because of that blue outside of there. So it's best to stick with a neutral tone, and that's gray. I kind of like the default, actually. But if you want to change to a different tone of gray, that's just fine. Black, another option. Now, black, because it's so dark, will make your image look brighter. So again, it may give you a false perception of what your image looks like. So I'll stick with just the medium grays in here or the default. But you do have that ability. You can change the color if you want to. If you want to go crazy, you can come down here to Custom and then come down to Select Custom Color and choose any color you want from the color picker. Okay, let's go back to the default again. There we go. Notice how you can change that all you want without having to close down and reopen Photoshop Elements. The next thing I normally do when I'm working in Elements is to make it so that I can float my windows like this. This is just really useful if you're working with more than one image at a time, more than one file at a time. This allows me to dock the image or to float that window. That's a simple option up here. Edit, come down to Preferences, General, and that's that one right here, Allow Floating Documents in Advanced Mode. That's normally unchecked. I always check that. Choose OK, and you can then do that. While we're right there, something else which I like to do a lot, and this is great if you have a mouse with a scroll wheel, I have mine set so that I can zoom in and out just by using the scroll wheel on the mouse. Makes it real super easy. I don't have to go over here to the zoom and then do a zoom number down here. I can just scroll in and out with the wheel on the mouse. And that again is a setting up here under Edit and Preferences. Back to General again. Just put a check mark right here next to Zoom with Scroll Wheel. Choose OK. You can then zoom in and out with the wheel on your mouse. Real nice little trick. You just redock this up here. Something else on the interface here is the size of the buttons and the size of the text, all this kind of stuff. You can adjust this a little bit, but not much. Let me show you where that is. Edit, come down to Preferences again. This time come down to Display and Cursors. And right down here, the UI Scale Factor. It's set for automatic, and usually this is all you need. But there are actually two settings, small at 100% and large at 200%. You can try them both and see how they go. Notice that there is a note in here that some items may be cut off when using 200%. That depends on the size of your monitor. So if automatic is not working for you, if your icons are too small, you can try the large size. If your icons and your text is too large, you can try the small size. But again, mostly the automatic should work out just fine. Let's go to another thing that you can adjust in here. I'll go over to the Type tool. And then right down here, let's bring up our type list, our font list. And it's the sample on the right-hand side. Real small, real hard to read. You can fix that. Let's back up again in the Preferences, Edit, Preferences. This time come down to Type right here. And this is the font preview size. Just set that to huge. I found that's usually the right one to choose. Choose OK. And now We have real nice, large, easy to see sample sizes on the right-hand side. So that's an easy one to fix right there. There's one more thing that we can do. I'll go back here to the Move tool. On the right-hand side, we have these buttons at the bottom: layers, effects, filters, styles, graphics, and so forth. And then your panels come up over here in the right-hand side. There are actually two ways to get this laid out. Click on that down arrow, and you get some additional panels you can bring up here, like the color swatches panel, which comes in as a floating panel right here. All of those things come in this one floating panel. You just kind of click through those. And because it's a floating panel, I could reposition this anywhere I want to. I'll close that. Come back down here to that arrow again. This time click on Custom Workspace, and notice how my buttons have now gone away. They've now become tabs at the top. This can be much easier to work with. You just click through your tabs like this. They're all in one easy space. This is the way that Photoshop is laid out. But something else that you can do here is you can actually take a tab, drag it, and make this into a floating window. And you can then stretch your window by grabbing on the bottom and pulling up and down. And then you can make this a floating panel. Instead of having it out there, you can actually see two things at once. For instance, I can now see my layers and my effects at the same time in two panels. I could even overlap them if I wanted to and give the effect of these being two different panels in here. So you do have that ability to come in and show multiple panels at the same time just by dragging it out and floating it. There we go. I can even then put this above that. There are my two panels. Or bring these out here, and I can then see the graphics as well over here right-hand side. So you can see multiple panels open up at the same time if you use them as floating windows just by dragging them off the list up here. And again, that is if you are over here using that as the custom workspace. Go back to basic. Everything goes back to the way it was. Go back here to custom. And again, they're lined up as tabs, which can then be floated as floating windows. I kind of like this way better. This is how things are laid out over inside of Photoshop. But for all of my videos here on YouTube, I keep everything at the basic default settings. So you'll be seeing this in all of my YouTube videos. And take a look at my new tool for learning how to use Photoshop elements. And I'll put a link for that in the description. That's my new HTGPhoto coach for Photoshop elements. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Click on subscribe if you haven't already done so. And I'll see you next time.